Hello everybody, my name is Terry Ryan. Welcome to my channel. I am the author of I Survived Domestic Violence and Stalking. If you would like a copy of this, please contact me on this underneath in the messenger bar, or you can go on my Facebook page, which is Terry Ryan Author, and you'll find that on Facebook. Just send me a message in the notifications. Or if you live locally around me, you can buy a copy at Swells in High Street, Heathcote. It's still purchased for $20 a copy. I wrote this book in the way to heal from domestic violence, which I had gone through earlier in my life, and I suffered post-traumatic stress. During this time of the COVID-19, I haven't really been on here that much. This was due to me having to go back to full-time work, which I thank God for, that at least I had a job to go to, whereas many others lost theirs, so I really appreciate that. But it didn't leave a lot of time for a lot of other things that I normally would have done when I was working part-time. Anyway, I thought it very valuable to go over this once again, the story of my survival with domestic violence after going through this last year, 2020, where everybody was locked away and restricted, and many people no doubt were locked up with their abuser, and had to come out of this and cope with the stress and everything that they had to go through, with the lack of money and lack of freedom and lack of being able to escape. I think it was very important for everybody to remember domestic violence and the ramifications of it with friends and family. Anyway, as I say, I haven't been on here for a while, and I hope everybody had a lovely Christmas and a happy new year. Well, we finally made it to 2021. Hopefully everyone celebrated that. I certainly did. Anyway, what I wanted to, I found lately, there's been a bit of a subject coming up lately which I felt needed touching on. As some of you who have watched my YouTube channel before have been watching, I've been going through topics. At the back of my book I wrote topics on the things that I learned by going through domestic violence. I wanted to put a little bit of a positive spin on my memoir, so that it wasn't just another sadistic or sad story. I wanted to put a positive spin on it and show people that even though I went through years of stalking and domestic violence, that it wasn't for no purpose, that I actually learnt many things about other people, and I learnt many things about myself which improved my self-esteem and improved the person that I am, and made me become a stronger person who I am today. Anyway, so one by one I was going through these topics. I didn't actually include every topic that I've been learning in that book, but lately I felt it important because this particular topic has been coming up again and again recently with friends and family and people that I know, that a topic which I will name to make sure people feel valued. And this was one of the things that during my childhood and right through my life I did have a lot of trouble with, and many people do, that they feel alone and they feel like they're not valued as a woman or a man or as a human being sometimes. And quite often we can neglect the fact that there is very simple things that we can do to make sure every person is valued. And one of the things that I found when I was a child too was I used to do a lot of things to try and impress my mother, and drawing pictures and things like that, but she went through a lot of issues herself, and I found it quite sad and depressing and rejected when I didn't get acknowledgement for like my pictures and things that I did, that I particularly did for her, which sounds rather trivial really, but being a child and being the super sensitive child that I was, it did greatly affect me. And then as I grew up and I went through childhood and I went through bullying and that, I felt undervalued, and little by little, piece by piece, these things came together, and I ended up with a very low self-esteem of myself and low self-confidence in myself. Then I ended up, I was a perfect target for a narcissist person to see me and mould me completely, pummel me into the little coward that I became. And so I was very easily moulded by this. But encouragement is such an important thing and goes such a long way, and it's so simple, the things that we can do to make sure other people do feel valued. And a simple way of making a person feel valued is to acknowledge them, acknowledge people for their efforts. And this is quite easy to do for your children or your husband or your wife or your sister or whoever it is. No matter what people do, if they do it for you or they make an effort, to acknowledge that effort. And because everybody deserves to be acknowledged. Quite often I found recently so many people have been reaching out and felt lonely and depressed and feel like that they're not valued, and quite often it's because they'll be reaching out to people and they'll be ignored. I've found that particularly disturbing, that quite often you can write a message or you can ring somebody time and time again and never get an answer. And this is one way of devaluing a person. I mean, if they were good enough to reach out to you, then you should be just as equally good to acknowledge that person, whether it be, even if you don't particularly have time to talk to that person, just send them a one-worder so that they know that you have heard them. This is one way that you can acknowledge people. Another way is congratulating people for their effort. You know, even though ourselves too, we can put effort into something, we can be our own biggest criticiser, self-criticising, and but we can acknowledge ourselves for the effort that we put in. Sometimes we don't succeed in the things that we want to strive for, but if we put the effort in, that's what counts. Effort is counting, and we should acknowledge that we have put the hard yards in and we have tried. And as we know, practice makes perfect too. So the main thing today is that every person, no matter who they are in walks of life, whether you like the person or you don't like the person, everybody is a soul, and every soul has a right to be acknowledged and valued in some respect. So the main message that I wanted to say today was be mindful of people, other people around you. Be mindful of their efforts. Be mindful of yourself and the efforts that you put in. Don't ever devalue another soul, because every soul is equal no matter what. We all came from the same source. Therefore, we're all entitled to feel loved, and we're all entitled to feel valued and needed and acknowledged. So that was about the main thing that I wanted to say today, just to be mindful about valuing people and acknowledging people, acknowledging their existence, acknowledging them as human beings, acknowledge them as the woman they are, the man they are, or whoever they are. Acknowledge people and don't ignore people, because this is when the sadness and depression and the the susceptibility to feel less of what they really are sets in, because it may just be that, you know, it's just you may think that I'm the only one that hasn't done this. They could have been not acknowledged by 6 other people that day. You just don't know. You don't know where people stand in their life, and particularly now when we've had such a bad year that we've just come out of, and we haven't finished that yet, even though we're in 2021. And Happy New Year to everyone for 2021. We are still going through things, and it's important for us to encourage each other. So anyway, that was about all that I wanted to say today, and I hope you all have a wonderful year, and hopefully I'll be back on soon. So until then, goodbye, and have a great day.